Nusantara, Indonesia's proposed capital city in the jungle Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, is sinking. Known for its high pollution, this city on the island of Java is struggling to survive amid environmental, overpopulation, and infrastructure challenges. It is also one of the world's most overpopulated cities. Its greater metropolitan area is home to more than 30 million residents. According to a 2021 study by Indonesia's Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, the sprawling megapolis sinks about 6 centimeters a year due to the excessive groundwater extraction for its residents. This makes it one of the fastest sinking cities on Earth. Nusantara City to replace sinking Jakarta. When Indonesian President Joko Widodo announced his plan to build a new capital city back in 2019, he promised a clean, green, high-tech utopia. Located on the island of Borneo, the new capital would be a rainforest metropolis, featuring meandering waterways and bold, contemporary architecture nestled under a tropical forest canopy. A sleek, high-speed transport system would whisk inhabitants between urban clusters organized to support innovation in high-value sectors like education, health, and tech. The twisting road that leads to Indonesia's future capital is lined with dense rainforests and pockets of plantations, punctuated every so often with monkeys enjoying a laze out on the tarmac. Located in eastern Borneo, the world's third largest island, Nusantara is set to replace sinking and polluted Jakarta as Indonesia's political center by late 2024. The completion of the new capital is expected to be in 2045. Overview of the Nusantara city. Nusantara will be built in East Kalimantan, the second largest province in Indonesia and the eastern area of the island. This particular region already has 2 important cities, Samarinda and Balikpapan, the activities of which are practically entirely based, unfortunately for the environment, on chopping down the original forest and extracting oil. Balikpapan even has its own refinery and the accompanying pollution. Nusantara cannot make the same mistakes as Jakarta, which would be failing to design an environmental policy that allows long-term sustainability. Still, it cannot copy the dynamics of its future neighbors Samarinda and Balikpapan either. This is something that politicians have taken into account. According to Joko Widodo, Indonesia's president, Nusantara will be the starting point for an Indonesia based on a green economy, through innovation and technology. The president has already undertaken not to invade protected green areas, even though these are scarce and not connected with one another. The initial models and renders show a Nusantara integrated within nature with buildings surrounded by greenery, perhaps avoiding the urban planning mistakes of the 20th century. However, so far no elements regarding its urban development have emerged, although the western sprawl has been ruled out in favor of high-rise buildings. Looking at other newly created cities in Asia, particularly in China, it is hoped that Nusantara will be a city that avoids formulas such as the colonialism seen in Jakarta, and that it will follow an environmental policy similar to that of sponge cities so as to avoid the environmental problems of the current capital. The value of the city. From the national planning perspective, the relocation of the capital city offers at least 2 key propositions. First, the new capital city is expected to stimulate economic growth. To date, Java contributes about 60% to Indonesia's GDP, of which over 20% comes from Jakarta. Adequate infrastructure in the new capital is expected to encourage industrialization in the surrounding area and create employment opportunities. In the long term, it is expected to become an economic super hub, driving the nation's economy. The new capital city is designed as being among the government's top strategies for national economic recovery after the pandemic. It is projected to support Indonesia's GDP target of USD 180 billion and create close to 5 million jobs in 2045. Second, the new capital city is expected to encourage equitable development. As promised by Jokowi, development must be Indonesia-centric, that is, equitable throughout Indonesia so that no one region is marginalized and no one is left behind. This can be done by creating a new epicenter of economic growth outside Java. But at what cost? The relocation of the capital is an ambitious project. It would cost around $35 billion, of which 19% will come from the state budget. The rest will be funded by cooperation between the government and business entities from the private sector. This price tag includes new government offices and housing for about 1.5 million civil servants. Before proceeding with the video, could you please take a moment to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're yet to do so? Also, remember to hit the notification bell to be notified when more videos drop in. What will happen with the city of Jakarta? Historically, when a city has been moved to another place, the old one has continued to be populated, and some have even grown. Lagos, Nigeria, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Melbourne, Australia, and Philadelphia, USA are just some examples of this. Jakarta is not expected to drop in size, there are no plans to relocate the population, and there are no alternatives to stop the city from gradually sinking. As with Venice, Jakarta will continue to sink for as many centuries as there are inhabitants. There is a plan to relocate approximately 1.5 million public officials, which could significantly destabilize Jakarta. With this continuous flow of public revenue, the city is likely to rapidly deteriorate. On the other hand, Nusantara is set to flourish. In theory, Jakarta is still the country's financial and commercial center, partly because the country's entire infrastructure is currently focused there. However, with the relocation of the capital and with the old city inevitably sinking, the city would appear to be sentenced to death. However, this will occur in many decades or even centuries. It is sinking relatively slowly, as in Venice. Indonesia's future lies in Nusantara. Jakarta is unsustainable. It literally cannot sustain itself. It is only inevitable that Jakarta will sink in the future, and there is no doubt that in a few decades a large part of the population's homes will be underwater, or in other words, a large part of the population will have emigrated elsewhere. The relocation of the capital cannot be avoided, and there is no escaping it. Part of Jakarta will die. An alternative to Jakarta is the construction of Nusantara, a project that will require a considerable environmental impact, which is the reason behind most of the criticism received, followed closely by the public opinion of the Jakarta residents that cannot leave, while others, which have already been ruled out, consist in significantly extending some existing cities. Nusantara will be built and will probably merge Samarinda and Balikpapan like a conurbation due to the expected migrations to this region of Borneo. The eyes of the international community observe the project within the country's sovereign limits and in the hope that the errors in water and global warming mitigation policies are not repeated. Whether or not this will be achieved, perhaps only time can tell.